And welcome to a brand new segment that we have here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. We call it the Quarantine Q&A. I'm Sean Myers, joined by my co-host Dan Flickinger, and over the next several episodes, we'll be talking to Westmoreland County athletic directors, talking about their background and some of the notable achievements at their school during their tenure. It should be a very exciting series. And Dan, this is something that we're looking forward to doing, getting to know a lot of the athletic directors who, for the most part, are behind the scenes in the success of local athletes.
Yeah, there's so many things that the athletic directors do other than just dealing with us. And some go beyond athletics. Some do a lot of different things other than just athletics, scheduling buses and those transportation and those types of things. But certainly is a thankless job sometimes, long hours. But the guys love it, and we can't wait to talk with them.
And we'll be talking to 8 to 10 or so different athletic directors over the course of these episodes. But episode number 1, we have a very special guest. He is the athletic director at Penn-Trafford High School, Kerry Hetrick, year number 10. Kerry, thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So as Dan mentioned and we highlighted, you do so much behind the scenes. While I think people really that follow Penn-Trafford athletics are familiar with you a little bit, give a background to maybe people who don't know about your history. We mentioned 10 years at PT, but I know it goes back much further than that for you.
I started at CCAC in 1995 as the baseball coach. In 1997, I took over as director of student life and athletics there as well. I continued that until 2005. At the end of that year, I took on a new adventure and went to the high school scene, and I went to Elizabeth Forward. Had a great 4 years there, a lot of tremendous people. I made a lot of good relationships there. And the Penn-Trafford position opened up 2010. I've lived in this area since I've been married for close to 21 years now. And, I just jumped on the opportunity at that point now. And, I think it's the best decision I've ever made as far as being able to work where I live here in this wonderful community. And, I'm just fortunate to have great people around me, our administration, our school board, and a great community. As seen, you guys cover a lot of our events, and you see the crowds and the support that our program gets here from our community. And I wouldn't rather be, it's the best place in the world for me. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
And let's continue on that subject. You said that this is a great district for you. You absolutely love working there. What stands out? What are some of the best aspects of Penn-Trafford, and what's maybe unique to Penn-Trafford as well?
Well, like I said, I think the first thing is to be successful, you have to surround yourself with good people. And, I have a great group of coaches here. A lot of hardworking individuals. You guys know most of them, if not all of them, other than a few of our new ones. Wonderful student athletes here. Great teachers. Like I said, administration, school board. It's a wonderful community, and I'm just fortunate to be a part of it.
Kerry, we're doing this series because of unfortunate circumstances. There's no spring sports taking place at any level, really, professional, collegiate, and certainly not high school at this moment because of the quarantine and people really just practicing social distancing. Obviously, it has changed everyone's lives. Talk about what you have been doing over the last 6 weeks or so that Penn-Trafford and all high schools have been affected by this.
Well, the first thing I'm doing is trying to stay positive. I know it's hard, for everybody involved here, our seniors, especially, based on last spring and the optimism and things that we had in front of us with softball, baseball, track, volleyball, tennis, lacrosse. Everybody was ready to go. And, we got a week or so into it, and, things sort of got to where they're at. And, I'll be honest, it's, we're all looking for that light at the end of the tunnel right now, and we're all trying to stay positive. I think, the PIAA holding things off, I'm glad they're doing that because it still gives us all hope. And, we all have that hope. And, every day I'm hoping there is a light at the end of the tunnel. What I'm doing to keep busy, I'm still come in pretty much every day. I'm keeping up with, their schedules coming out. Still proceeding with getting my fall schedules lined up, our website. I've learned some new things on there. If you get a chance, we've been featuring all of our spring athletes, the seniors. Each day I put 3 new ones up there, and we're trying to honor them, in some sort of aspect as far as, hopefully this will just sort of be a prelude to, having them on a field here at some point. But in the meanwhile, every day we feature our student athletes. And just like everybody else, trying to, stay safe and keep my family safe. And, just like you guys, just hope for the best and, pray and hope for everybody and hope that at some point we all get through this.
Yeah, we certainly hope everybody's staying safe and practicing social distancing, because this is something that certainly is affecting so many people. Kerry, you mentioned the PIAA announcing a couple of times that they're continuing to postpone instead of cancel spring sports. Are you kind of at the mercy, just like everybody else is, waiting for a PIAA announcement? Have you been able to actually talk with any PIAA officials, or is all the ADs kind of in the same boat right now and you're just kind of waiting for the next news release from the PIAA?
Well, I honestly, I think we're all in the same boat. I mean, we can't proceed unless, we're on the WPIL, but in the big picture, we're all part of the PIAA.
Sure.
And, we're basically all in the same boat here. It's all going to be based upon the decisions that they make, and they're not going to make any decisions until they know everybody's safe. And we're all in the same boat with that.
When you look back, we mentioned this year's spring sports and so much promise. You talked about the teams already, but I want to kind of take you back, Kerry, if I could, to last spring. It really was a magical spring for you. You look at softball winning a state championship. You look at baseball playing in their first ever WPIAL championship. Boy, what a spring that was. And again, we're just praying that maybe we can have spring sports this year and see how those teams kind of build off of that special year last year.
Yeah, I'm right with you, there's so many things ahead. I was just hoping that they'd all have that chance to sort of get back to where we were. I think both of them had some unfinished business. There's a lot of optimism coming into the season. I mean, we have a lot of returning players, but like you said, to bring in all the other sports too. I think a lot of positive things with our numbers with track. Boys tennis, the lacrosse teams are growing, each year, and our numbers are great. And I was just, everything, looking forward to everything. We sort of hit this red light here, and it's just, for all those kids, I just, I'm as disappointed as any of them are. And but like I said, the main goal here is that everybody needs to be safe right now. And outside of that, I'm with you guys. I'm going to keep holding out hope and hope that at some point, whether it's in May or June, July, whatever, that we have some sort of chance to have a season, and we'll do our best with whatever's laid out in front of us.
I want to ask you again, Kerry, about that state championship for softball last year. Sean and I were there broadcasting the game. Very exciting game, and the team was an exciting team last year with the amount of offense that they had, and the state championship certainly showed that on both sides. Both teams were pretty offensively gifted. But was there a memory that kind of stands out to you about that game or about last season for the PT softball team that went all the way?
Well, there was. I mean, because, they went through a lot of adversity. They went through the season cruising, pretty much for a lot of the season, putting up a lot of runs, shutting everybody down, all these girls playing different roles. I mean, Coach Little using all these kids in a lot of different ways off the bench. And, here we had that one bad inning in the WPIL, and, and it stopped us. And then, they could have went into a hole and sort of, been at the end of the road there. But all of a sudden, they found a new life when the state playoffs came around. And, we put that behind us. We went on a magical run. I could still think about, the day driving up to Penn State and the sun and the great day that it was up there, and it just to look around and take everything in. And, and I sat there on pins and needles for 2.5 hours. But, at the end of the day, not only for, myself and the team, but it was the first team championship in school history. And, everything that came with it, the celebration and just coming back and the people meeting the kids, when they arrived back. I mean, but I think you were here too. I mean, the send-off for them.
That was unbelievable.
That's what I mean about the community here. I mean, the people, the police department, the fire department, the ambulance service, all these people that got involved, even, with softball, or you go back to when we went to Heinz Field, just the way that this community came together and the support that everybody gives for these student athletes here, it's amazing. And it's like I said, I'm so fortunate to be a part of it. And, it's a memory that'll last a lifetime.
Well, I was fortunate enough to ride the bus with the girls up to Penn State. And I remember talking with Coach Little before, and he said, listen, we have our seating arrangement. You can't, basically, this is our good luck. You can't, this is our superstition. So you're riding shotgun. So I literally rode in the front seat next to the bus driver. I thought he was joking around. I said, I'm riding shotgun? He said, yep, that's where you're going. So
he was a ball player for a long part of his life, and that's part of that. That's part of that fraternity. I mean, there's superstitions, and whether it's the clothes you wear, where you sit. I mean, that's all part of the game.
Definitely an interesting seat, that's for sure. And I'm not saying I helped them win, but I certainly didn't cause them to lose or anything. So that was a good thing.
Well, right now in the hot seat, it's Kerry Hetrick, the 10th year athletic director at PT for the Quarantine Q&A here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Great memories of softball. It was a great run for the baseball team as well, but unfortunately some tragedy that followed that really hit everyone hard in the PT community with McClain Wan, who was a terrific player and the best pitcher on that baseball team a year ago. He tragically passed away a few months ago. He was enrolled at Seton Hill University as a freshman and was looking to make a big impact on the baseball team as well as academically. It seemed like anyone who met him, and certainly I can speak on my behalf and probably Dan's as well, for anyone who covered him as well, realized how special he was as an athlete, but it seemed like a special person from what I gathered as well. Your fondest memories of him and how the community rallied after that tragic loss?
Well, McClain was a huge part of the, this whole turnaround with our baseball program. And he was one of the people that, that obviously that we rode his coattails last year, along with a lot of other fine players. And, I'm at a loss for words with a lot of things. And I think in the end, it was as I mentioned, there's all these positive things that happened. That was another thing that, that we were all part of and experienced. And it was a hard part in life. And, all we can do from that is try and turn things into positives. And, all the great things that Seton Hill did, for Mac, we're trying to follow as well. Our administration and management classes set up an online store, and they sold merchandise in the different colors for Seton Hill and for PT. And to honor Mac and to raise some funds. And what they do, what they're doing with the funds is, and I'm working with Ms. Stefkovich in her classes, we purchased a bench that we are going to put in indoor baseball stadium at the appropriate time. Hopefully, that'll come sooner than later. And we're going to have a bench in honor of Mac. It's going to display his name and his quote on there as well. And that's going to be something that'll, live on here, just like his spirit at PT always will. And I brought in to show you a little thing, and hopefully, we gave these out to our kids last week. If you guys can see,
sure,
it on the back of our hats. If you guys can see that, our team's going to wear that this year as well too, to honor Mac and and all that he brought to not only our program but our community. Like you said, he was just his whole attitude and his thoughts were contagious with everybody. In the short time he was at Seton Hill, you can tell, how he quickly became a part of that community. And, all my best and always my thoughts and prayers to his parents. And we certainly want to involve them with all the things that we do and have them be a part of, when it comes to the appropriate time that we can honor Mac here at PT. We're going to love to have them be a part of it as well.
Well, I can speak to that too, Kerry, being around the Seton Hill baseball team for a couple of weeks before their season was cut short. They loved him. They loved him. And I thought it was so interesting because here's a freshman coming onto a team with a lot of upperclassmen, and he made his mark immediately, not only as a player, which he did. I remember Maz telling me a story in the fall about how they were playing one of their fall ball games, and he struck out 3 guys on 9 pitches, and that got the guys going for sure. But just the dynamic person that he was, the charisma that he had. Everybody loved the kid, and to make an impact like that as a freshman through fall and up until, unfortunately, he passed away is just incredible. So, once again, all of our thoughts and prayers still going out to his family who've been, very involved in the community coming together. It's really been incredible.
I agree. And, and you mentioned Seton Hill, great people there and just, the whole coming together of all the people and everybody involved. It was amazing. And, hopefully, like I said, when the time comes, and I hope that it does at some point this year for baseball and for all of our other sports, and we'll have an opportunity to honor him the way he deserves to be honored here at Penn-Trafford.
And I'm sure you guys are excited to get on the turf, right?
Yeah, we've hit a few bumps in the road with the weather and finishing. Softball is pretty complete. We hit a little bit of a brick wall in October with the weather. They got the turf down, but with all the excavation and the equipment and everything, and the grass in the outfield, that part still remains tough. The baseball part, when people can get back to work and everything sort of can get back to normal, hopefully, we'll finish that out. We had everything in place and a plan in place as to how we were going to play, and then just like everybody else in life here, we got thrown a big curveball, and we're just going to, hope for the best. And at some point, we'll get this ball field done down here and hopefully be able to get on it. And, like I said, the thing with Mac as well, too, that's going to be, once our stadium's complete down there with the baseball field, that's going to be one of the big parts of opening it up, is we want to sort of tie that in with it as well.
Kerry, while the sports seasons have been halted, there's still some business that's occurring at Penn-Trafford, and I know that in recent months you had some coaching searches, including for both boys and girls soccer after Rick Neese and Jackie Barco resigned from their positions. I believe you hired the boys coach probably about 6 weeks or so ago, but pretty recently naming a girls coach as well. Take me through that process.
Yes, so Terry, he comes from Keystone Oaks and a very, very strong background for our boys program. Coach T, as he'll be referred to. We were fortunate to come across him, and in my short time knowing him, he's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to working with him. And right before we all went on our hiatus here, we were fortunate enough to hire Jimmy Mastriani as our girls coach. Jimmy is a local. He's a PT guy. A lot of people in the community will relate well to Jimmy. He has a great soccer background as well, too. And, I look forward to working with both of them. I know they're both working on bringing staffs together and different things, too. And we're sort of coming in full circle. I lost 2 great people that, I have a lot of great fond memories. I mean, Rick and Jackie did a lot of great things here, and they're going to be missed. And, I'm sad to see both of them go. Jackie, bring up, other things too. We're only a couple years removed from, a WPIAL championship. And, and things change in life, and those coaches had other things come up and along in their lives. And, hopefully at some point down the road, you never know, maybe we'll connect back with them, or they can be a part of some other things here at PT. But they're both wonderful people, and, I'm going to miss them both. But at the same time, I welcome the opportunity to work with 2 fine men that we've, had the fortunate situation of hiring here in the last couple of months. Hopefully I'll get to know him much, better here in the summer. But, we're a little bit of a halt here with everything going on. So, but luckily we got them both on board, and I know they're communicating with the teams and the kids as well, which I think, hopefully that'll at least help as we move forward.
We know the impact that the pandemic is having on the spring sports. That's very obvious. It's been well reported on. But if this potentially lingers into the summer, it looks like it could impact fall sports as well, at least in the preparation of the off season. Take me through a typical schedule for fall sports teams, including soccer, including football, when they actually start getting to work, using facilities, things like that, and how potentially their season might be impacted as well. Well,
you and I both, you guys know, I mean, most of these teams, they go almost year round, other than, a few times here where maybe they have, a little break here and there, but at the same time, they've already been working out all winter, and, all summer they'd have things ahead of them too. So yeah, that's at a halt right now. I'd like to think, like I said, they are communicating with the kids, through their messaging services, through Remind, through email. They're giving them workouts. Even our spring coaches right now, where they're on a regular basis, they're communicating with their players, giving them things to do at home, because you don't want them to go out, you don't want them to gather together, but just to find some things to do at home to work out with. And those teams are going to unfortunately have to follow suit, until, we get to that light at the end of the tunnel here. I'm just like spring sports, I'm going to remain optimistic and just hope for the best. If we get to that point where we have a halt, or I guess that's when I'm going to more or less have to start worrying or trying to figure out ways to deal with that. But right now, I'm still going to hope for spring sports and just hope for the best. And I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there with fall sports.
And certainly, we hope that we see John Ruane on the sideline for PT football in the fall. But there was a time last year where he wasn't able to be on the sideline. I think it's something you can kind of look back and joke about a little bit now. He got injured, and it was a pretty severe injury, in a game and a victory against Gateway that we had on the Westmoreland Sports Network, and then he had to really change his routine. I believe he was coaching from the press box for a while, using a golf cart. What role did you play in that, and have you ever dealt with a coach that had those circumstances to sort of juggle around in the middle of a terrific season?
Well, John's a veteran. You guys have got to know him over the years. He's a friend, and, things change for him. He's all about routines, and, whether that's, his daily meetings, his workouts, everything is programmed in before the kids get together. And I think the biggest thing for him is that, it sort of messed with his routine, and he really had to adjust. But just like everything else with our trainers and the good people at Excella that worked with him, we were fortunate to have everybody work together, and we came up with ways to make it work for him. And, just like everything else, he's a warrior. He fought on, and he got back on the sideline as soon as he was cleared and able to do so.
Kerry, that was an injury, I guess, off the field. And by the way, I'll never forget, and we had it on our broadcast, when John got the guys around after the game, after they beat Gateway. There was so much excitement. He was on crutches at that point, and he just threw the crutches up in the air. And that was awesome. I think we actually had that on instant replay on our broadcast. It was just an exciting season, and it's certainly an exciting win, but John's not a guy that shows a ton of emotion, but at that point, I think the adrenaline was running pretty high for him.
Well, it was, and that shows you, why the kids, go through a brick wall for him, because that's what he does, and that's what he preaches, and that's why, we've been so successful on the football field is because of what he's built here, and and he's made the kids believe, just like all of us, and we're fortunate to have him, and that's John, and you've got to know him over the years as well too. And there's not too many things that were going to stop him from being. You knew he wasn't going to miss a game, So he did what he had to do, and we all pulled together and helped out, and we got through it. And, hey, before the year was over, he was back on the field doing his thing as he always does.
And certainly another great football season for Penn-Trafford. I mentioned the injury off the field to John, but, of course, a very damaging injury to Penn-Trafford, even though they ended up beating McKeesport, and you guys ended up going all the way to the WPIAL semifinals. Of course, was Caleb Lisbon. I would have loved to see if Caleb played in that game. Would it have been different against Peters Township? Of course, Sam Finelli also was banged up during the season, and other guys as well. But still, despite that, Penn-Trafford showed that it does every year, that it's more about the team than one player. And you guys continued to win despite being without your best player and one of the best in the WPIAL. And, again, just another fantastic football season for Penn-Trafford, and we love covering you guys again.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. It's all about the team, and John's built that. He's built one heck of a program here, and we're fortunate to have him. And it's next man up, just like it is anywhere else. And yeah, we had some very unfortunate injuries this past season, but these kids pulled together and made for one heck of a ride. It was a fun year, and I was just glad to be a part of it. And I know, just like everything else, we're gonna cross that bridge and knock down the door in that with this team at some point here too.
Kerry, as we wind down, we definitely want to ask you about the winter sports season, which wrapped up certainly recently. Although I guess the winter championships are still going on for some teams, and hopefully those will eventually be played at some point. But talk a little bit about the winter sports, wrestling, girls basketball, and boys basketball, and kind of what stood out to you, about those teams and their performances.
Well, both basketball teams, had great seasons, 14, 15 wins for both teams. Our wrestlers, AJ's come along and we're increasing our numbers there and we look forward to a great future with them. Our swim teams, year in and year out, they're always good. They're always at the top of the section. Coach Babick does a wonderful job with that group, and another amazing year for them. And we had some kids go in, and we did have some swimmers that get in under the wire at the state championships. I think that was the last day of allowable competition before everything sort of went dark. But, and also to mention, too, our rifle team, first section championship for them as well. And that's a newer team here. Club team, but over the last few years, we're fortunate to have Coach Long involved with that, and those kids went undefeated in their section and had a wonderful year as well too. So, we had a lot of great things happen, and that's between the fall and the winter sports, and and hopefully at some point here the spring sports will continue that.
Kerry, when the debate came out for really the football realignment, but it I think extended to all sports in the WPIAL. Would they continue with the like school sizes with classifications, or would they shift to a geographic-based alignment? A lot of people weighed in. I personally thought that the geographic aspect was intriguing, depending on how it would play out. Ultimately, they kept pretty similar with the school sizes, but they did try to make some geographic compromises and make it a little bit more conducive than years past. What was your initial reaction? Did you have a preference, and how do you think it ultimately played out?
Well, I think, the way things worked out is the way we felt they would work out. I mean, there's a couple changes in our section, with Woodland Hills coming aboard. Not too many things changed. A couple teams switched around for us. 5A is, 5A is pretty tough across the board, and now to have Woodland Hills involved in our section is going to make it even tougher. And, I think at the end of the day, not too many things are going to change as far as, the rivalries in the section. I mean, fortunately, we were able to keep Norwin on our schedule. We get to that point, we're going to play them in week 0. We're also going to play Hempfield, which, we did not have things along those geographic, they did work out in some degree, because now we're going to play both Norwin and Hempfield in addition to our section rivals. We're going to have a new rival with Woodland Hills. I'd say all in all, I think things worked out pretty well for our program. no matter how this fell, I mean, we'd have made the best of it. And, we were just going to play with the hand we were dealt. But I think at the end of the day, it worked out pretty well for us. And, hopefully you'll be able to, cover Norwin and PT, Hempfield and PT, in addition to, to all of our, other rivalries. We're going to lose McKeesport, but, still Gateway and Franklin Regional and, Connellsville and Latrobe, and still a lot of the familiar teams that, we've played over the years and have formed rivalries with. And, we're going to start a new chapter with Woodland Hills as well.
Kerry, last thing I have for you is this has been difficult for everyone, and you mentioned what you've been trying to do in your capacity as the athletic director, but from a personal standpoint, how have you handled this? What has been taking up what I would assume is a little bit more free time than what you're used to having this time of year?
Well, I've been coming in pretty much most days. I'm pretty isolated here. Some days I'm the only person here. It's a little creepy walking around the school. But I'm getting things done that I need to get done. And at the same time, I'm looking out for my family and the best interest of everybody, just like everybody else. I'm just, I'm going to hope for the best and hope and pray that, that we can all get through this and that we can get back to some sort of sense of normalcy. And, sitting here and talking with you guys, takes you away from a lot of the crazy things that we're dealing with right now and brings a little bit of that back. So, very happy to talk to you guys here today. And I hope at some point we can get back to, the way that we love living our lives and having sports and everything is such a big part of my life, and it always has been, and I'm sure it is with you guys as well too. Dan, I've worked with you now for 10 years, and it's like everything else. You guys are a big part of our program as well, and we'll continue that, and I hope that that we can do that, and I hope that you can get on another bus with the softball team and sit in the front seat and do the same for all of our other teams, because you seem to be a pretty good luck charm with doing that. So
that's the first time I've ever been called a good luck charm, so I appreciate that.
Well, it all worked out in the end. But
yes, it did.
We're glad to have you, and like I said, I appreciate getting away from everything going on today and spending a little time with you guys.
Well, Kerry, I want to leave you with this. Two of the biggest questions of the interview we haven't gotten to yet. Number one is, how is Renee Mars doing? And number two, well, I'll let you answer that first. How's Renee doing? I miss seeing her smiling face when we go through the doors, when we're banging off the doors, bringing in all of our equipment, and Renee's standing there.
She's doing, some work from home and from school. I think today she's actually working at our admin building.
Okay.
But she's keeping pretty busy at home as well, too, helping me with the websites. We're still doing schedules. The WPIL is still sending us schedules for next year. So we're still conducting that type of business as well. And so she's home taking care of her family as well, too, but also putting some time in here at the school and, getting the job done as we always do.
Second question that I have for you, you look behind you, Kerry, at the 5-time Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins pennant you have there. How much have you missed hockey? I know how big of a hockey fan you are. I'm sure you've missed it, but have you gotten a chance to catch some of the replays on AT&T Sportsnet of the Stanley Cup Finals?
I watched Game 6 last night, and I think Game 7's on tomorrow. So, I'll be watching. That is a big part. I miss that as well, too. So there are a lot of things missing from all of our lives. And, watching a lot of replays, listening to a lot of music, watching Netflix, made it through Tiger King, just like everybody else,
right.
Probably. So, I'm doing a lot of that in my spare time, too. But, just trying to stay positive and move forward here with everything.
You know who hasn't or doesn't want to watch back to Game 6 or Game 7? This guy. He's a Red Wings fan.
I am.
How about that?
Yeah.
I remember the 08 Stanley Cup much more fondly than the 09 Stanley Cup, for sure.
Yeah. Well, watching Scuderi last night at the end of that game, made you think back to a lot of, I can remember exactly what I was doing, where I was watching that, at that time.
The piece.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing about sports is whether it's, the Penguins, the Steelers, my Penn-Trafford teams, all you got to do is think back in time. You brought up the champion. I could think exactly how the day was, sitting up at Penn State where I was and just, and that's what sports does for all of us.
Well, Kerry, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thanks for giving us some information on your background, what's been going on around the district as well, and certainly hope that things get back to normal as soon as possible.
And Kerry, I just want to thank you for everything that you have done. I mention this all the time on the broadcast and to people. When we first formed the Westmoreland Sports Network, PennTrafford, and you were one of the first people that I talked to about covering Penn-Trafford sports, and you've been just so gracious with us and so supportive, and we've been covering more and more Penn-Trafford games, and we absolutely love it. The coaches are special there, the players are too. So thank you so much for everything you and Renee and everybody else, and Pat Konopka, I'll give him a shout out too, that you guys do for us, and we certainly hope we're going to be broadcasting very soon.
I'm looking forward to it. I take my hat off and tip it to you, but my hair's a mess. I need a haircut pretty bad.
We all do. I'll tell you what, they're going to be those places are going to be okay whenever the economy opens back up. We're going to have to be waiting a long time for haircuts.
Yeah. But I'm with you guys. You've not only given our football team, but you've covered every one of our teams, and that's the important part. Is every one of our teams here has had the opportunity to be on your network, and that's just, it's wonderful because all of our kids have had the chance to be out there, and for their grandparents or people out of state or different people to see them, and it's been pretty special, and I look forward to continuing that and making it even bigger and better as we move forward.
Thank you so much. That is, once again, Kerry Hetrick, 10th year as the athletic director at Penn-Trafford. That's going to do it for this edition. For my colleague Dan Flickinger, Sean Myers, we'll catch you again on a future Quarantine Q&A here on the Westmoreland Sports Network.